How his hand came into contact with her face, her sweet, plump, irritating little burr of a wifely face, that found a place beside his each night on the connubial pillow, was as much a mystery to O'Kane as the scalloped shell of the sky, and the rain that fell as one angry, inveterate thing over all this weary part of the earth. It wasn't late, not 10 o'clock yet, and he wasn't angry, not yet anyway. On the contrary, he'd been celebrating, polluting himself, as she would say, living it up, for he's a jolly good fellow, and 3 cheers for this one and that one, and rah, rah, rah. Celebrating with Nick and Pat and Mart, and with Dr. Hamilton, yes, with him too. Celebrating the rest of his life that had just been turned on like an electric switch, flooding him with light that poured from his nostrils and ears and his mouth, and no doubt his rectum too, though he hadn't yet had occasion to look down there. But he would eventually. And then he had come home, and there she was, stalking the sitting room like a bristling, tireless little rat-gnawing thing, all primed and ready to pounce. He hadn't meant to hit her, and he'd hit her only once, or maybe twice before, and the thing was, he wasn't even angry, just irritated and tired, drained to the core. The noise she made, and the baby squalling in the back room, and the way she kept thrusting her face at him as if it was a volleyball, tanned, stitched, and puffed up to regulation pressure. And she wouldn't let him have this, not even this, after all the gut-wrenching and indecision it had cost him over the past 2 months. And when the inflated ball of her face had come at him for maybe the 50th time, he slammed it right up and over the net, just as if he was still in school and diving for a low one on the hard-foot compacted turf of the volleyball court. That opened her up all right, and there was no peace for him after that. She was like an artesian well, a real gusher, tears and blood and rage exploding at him, and all he could think of, dodging away from that streaming face till he was so drained and exhausted he toppled into the blackness deeper than the last dying wink of consciousness, was Mrs. McCormick, Katherine, and what a lady she was. And Rosaline stuck to him like flypaper and howling till the windows went to pieces and the roof collapsed, and the whole drugged and dreaming town fell away into some deep fissure of the earth. Earlier that day, in the morning, it had been different. He'd awakened at first light and saw her there beside him, the soft petals of her eyelids and her lashes and lips, and the fragile composition of her face, and he thought about kissing her, leaning over and brushing his lips against the down of her cheek. But he didn't. He didn't want to wake her, or his son either. It was too peaceful, the submarine light, the stealthy tick of the clock, the rudiments of bird noise. And he didn't want to have to talk to her about the McCormicks and the meeting and what he feared and what he hoped. He hardly knew himself.